that right there is the view through an Athlon Argos BTR 6x24 rifle scope. I mean, doesn't look too bad. The subtensions on that are 2 MOA. It's at 24x, obviously, because that's the only power ever worth using, because any scope can do 6x well. But when you start to get higher up, it starts to look funny. I'm just looking through the viewfinder on the camera, and if you see, I hope it shows up in the video also, on the 12-inch circle on the left side, there is a blue aberration, because it's a white object on a dark background, and it's shifting the light as it goes through the glass, like how a rainbow works or a prism. And here she actually is, the Athlon Argos 6x24 with a 50mm objective. She looks pretty good. This is what I had running on my RPR. You see turreted windage and elevation with a side focus parallax. Not bad. She also comes with illumination right there. Now there's no stops in the middle. There's no 2 off 3. It's 2 3 all the way down to off is 0. She's pretty clear. She's a solid scope. A very nice scope. Perfectly happy with this scope. Well, of course, why am I taking videos of a scope? Because I got a different scope. Vortex Viper PST 6x24 by 50. Weird. It's like it's the exact same damn scope. But this one is also a pretty nice scope. But before I install it on my RPR, I figured I would take a quick video of it. See, it also has capped windage and elevation turrets with a handy dandy little notch to tell you when you're spinning around. But I mean, you could see the 0, so I'm sure in a high speed low drag situation that's useful. Goes up to, again, 24x, and this one has offs, 2 off, 3 off, 4. I think that's a pretty nice feature. Again, also has side focusing parallax, and that is the view through the Vortex Viper PST. As you can see, this reticle is much more busy. It has the graduations actually numbered, which is rather convenient, and it has the Christmas tree drop and windage holds at the bottom, which truthfully I don't think I'm ever going to use, but it's nice to know they're there. Well, actually I'm out of... Look at the white circle there. Much less of that blue line, even though it is right on the edge of the field of view. And basically, the closer you get to the lens, edges of the lens, the more distortion there is. On a very high-end lens, there shouldn't be any distortion. These aren't very high-end; they're mid-range, I guess. Which, it's weird to say that this scope, when I bought the Athlon, was a $900 scope. That's why I bought the Athlon. But since I was able to get it for $550, I decided to get it instead. Well, also, I should say. But not as much distortion with the lenses. So I think the lenses are higher quality. If you see, the Athlon had that cross in the center, and on 24x that cross completely obscures my dots that I use for sighting in targets. Vortex went the opposite way. They went with a standard come to a point, all 4 lines come to a point in the center of the crosshair, but the actual center is an open circle, so that you can have a very precise aiming point. Instead of, well, I'm covering up the target, you can actually see the exact thing you should be aiming at. I think that's also a pretty nice feature. So let's compare them side by side. The Vortex is slightly longer because it has a longer, I don't know, bell, whatever this is called, and the tube is ever so slightly longer in the back. The nut back here, the magnification, yeah, that's what I was saying. The magnification knobs are smaller on the Vortex and larger on the Athlon, and it's more, I don't know, everything on the Athlon just seems bigger. Like, the turrets are big with soft knurling, I guess, maybe, whereas the Vortex is small, tight, and aggressive. Like, I don't want to say this feels toy-like, because it does feel like a very genuine piece of aluminum. It feels pretty nice, it just looks soft. And that looks hard. But they're both as sturdy as you would expect from a multi-$100 piece of aluminum. Why is it every goddamn time I try and come out here to do something, there's a helicopter? You know, there's no fucking helicopters that ever fly over my house. Ever. Except when I'm out here filming. Let's really get in the meat of her here. The parallax knob is nice and smooth. Comes up, comes down. And it goes all the way down to 10 yards. That's crazy. 10-yard parallax adjustment. And infinity seems kind of useless to me. Anything I can see is just before infinity, so I'm not really sure if infinity is set correctly on this. The clicks on this are, gotta reach around, aren't bad. They're kind of squishy, but I'm used to really shitty scopes. But there's a little click, but there's a lot of smush. Same with the windage here. This is pretty tight, hard to turn, but not bad. And this has a built-in throw lever on it to make your life slightly easier when you want to turn it up. Alright, so the Vortex, on the other hand, also has an easy turn knob. She only goes down to 50, but frankly 50 is a much more reasonable number than 10. Not that I think you should remove features because they're unreasonable, but she goes up, oh, apparently past infinity, alright. The turret, as I said before, has a little fiber optic line to help you see where your zero is, presumably in low light conditions. The clicks are very positive. No smush, no mush, nothing at all. You absolutely know when you turn this. And the depth of the line with these markers shows you where your zero is. The Athlon also has that. I guess I forgot to show that. But it relies on the bottom of the turret cap. Same thing with the windage. Very positive, very audible clicks. And the illumination knob has offs between all of the numbers, which I think is a much better system because you can just set it to whatever you think you need it on, and then say when you stop shooting to let your barrel cool down or anything like that, or the wind gets too high, you just click it once over and you're good. Then when you want to get back behind the rifle, you just click it once instead of having to turn this thing all the way around to get to where you want to be. Much better system, in my opinion. Yeah, I think I forgot to show this, that the markings on here use the top of the cap as its marker instead of a vertical line sliding down through the housing. And does that mean no? There's my 0. Now that my 0 on this, because it's on my RPR, has 20 MOA built into it, whereas that, oops, the RPR or the Viper hasn't been put on the RPR yet, so I haven't taken the 20 MOA out of that scope yet. So accessories with the Athlon comes with scope covers. I put that in there myself, don't think about that. It came with scope covers, and that's basically it, which is fine. I usually like flip up scope covers because then they're always on the rifle and it doesn't matter what you do because you ain't gonna lose that. It's attached to your gun. You're never gonna lose that. Vortex comes with the slip-ons, but they're see-through, which, you know, that's pretty good. So you could use them if you needed them in a pinch. You could just shoot through them. But you're gonna take them off, you're gonna throw them in your bag, and then they might get scratched up. I have nothing against them at all. I don't plan on switching these on there or anything like that, but that's fine. And it also came with Sunshade. I never thought sunshades were worth it until I was playing with this out in my backyard before I came out here. When, I don't know if you can tell, but I always shoot away from the sun or away from the sun. The sun is never in my eye, so I literally never think about a sunshade, except in my backyard. I was looking into the sun and I could tell the glare was coming, or where the glare was, and I'm starting to see the utility of these, and it's nice they included it. Oh, I also forgot to mention both of these scopes are first focal plane. That means the reticle is rather small at 6x, but it balloons up to the reticles you guys saw at 24x. First focal plane is basically the only way to go, unless you absolutely know the distances you're always going to be shooting at. Which, I mean, you can make the argument, I know the distances I shoot at. I've very rarely shot at an unknown target. Okay, that is the Athlon Argos focused out to just about 300 yards. Looking at the steel plate out there. I'd like to aim higher, but there's a lot of overgrowth that's occurring, and tomorrow is my range maintenance day. So I can't, I'm not going to chop anything down before I finish this, so. But that's what it looks like at a 12-inch plate at 300 yards. Okay, this is the Vortex Viper PST Gen 1 6x24 at 300 yards. I mean, you can even, with these two images, that plate is certainly 12 inches. I know that plate is 12 inches across, and I now have two through the scope views of it with hash marks. So you can probably pause the video and attempt to see if the hash marks are accurate. They probably are. Or if my ranging is accurate. It's probably a little more than 300 yards, I think. But for my purposes, plus or minus 10 yards doesn't really matter to me. I know for a fact the 440 is a little further than 440, but 440 is just a really nice number because it's a quarter mile, you know, it just works out pretty nice. So I call it 440 even though it's probably 445 to 450, which is why I call the 550 because it's 100 yards back from where I'm sitting right now back to the 550. So instead of calling it 540, I call it 550 because it's probably 550. Anyway, I hope this was slightly informative. If you can get your hands on a Vortex Viper PST Gen 1 for sub $600, I think that's pretty much an automatic buy. It was an automatic buy for me. As I said, when it came out, it was a little over a third of the price. So I think that's pretty accurate. You know, it's 3/4 of the scope for 1/3 of the price. Because most people with really expensive scopes, I feel like don't even use them. Like the guy with a $1,500 Leupold on his hunting rifle that he shoots twice a year. Okay, like, cool. You know, I'd rather spend that $1,500 on ammo. But that's me. Anyway, these are two very comparable scopes at now very comparable prices. And I think for the money, each one of them gives you exactly what you pay for. The Athlon's cheaper, but it's slightly worse of a scope. You won't be upset with either of them. I can almost guarantee it. Okay, so this is a quick addendum. I was just lining these up so you can get a second view of, so you can get a view of the Vortex at 300 yards. And yeah, like you can see the grass with the Athlon, and you can see the individual leaves. Like, you know they're there, but they kind of just blend in with the rest of the green background. But through the Vortex, like, I feel like I can discern every single leaf. I could probably tell you, if I had a book, I could probably tell you what type of plant each one of those leaves are. Okay, so I guess I'll reconfirm the fact that this is certainly worth $200 more than the Athlon is. I never noticed this. I had no problem shooting the Athlon at all. There's a video of me hitting the 4-inch plate out there at 440 2 out of 3 times with the Athlon. The Athlon is, like I said, a very decent scope. I haven't put this yet in a, you know, sort of fixed sitting position so that I can see a static picture like this, and it genuinely does look, to my eye, significantly better. It seems brighter, and it feels like everything is just crisper. In case somebody is curious about that, it's just a scope, you know, holdover card that I got when I bought my bullet quiver on the side of my RPR. Yeah, they threw one of these in, and you know, they're pretty cool. I never filled it out because I didn't get my load developed before I bought the new scope, and the new scope doesn't take this type of cap, so it works out in the end. I'll probably toss this on a future 223 SPR build.